Hey Ralph, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, this is Garrett from Clipperholics. It's great to get the chance to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
How's it going today?
Everything's going great. Just getting ready for the game tonight.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so I just want to have a few off the record questions for you before we get started.
Okay.
So, do you have a time frame in mind for this?
No, whatever you need.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Well, I guess that should be it then. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the first question. So, first things first, how did you initially become involved with broadcasting and Clippers organization?
How I got the job originally, you mean?
Yeah.
I was working in Philadelphia doing nightly television anchoring, and I'd had it would kind of been a benefactor over the years. He'd hired me to do the San Diego Charger games one time. He hired me to work for a team, the American Basketball Association, once, and we just had kept in touch, and he wound up becoming the general manager of the San Diego Clippers when the team moved from Buffalo to San Diego in the summer of 1978.
Okay.
And he kept calling me and insisting that I come back to San Diego where I worked for him before. And so we finally decided to make the move, like in August, of 78, and took a big pay cut from my television work in Philadelphia to do it, but I just felt I really kind of always had dreamed of actually working for a ball club, and have my full-time job be just doing basketball rather than have basketball be a part of what I was doing.
Okay.
So I was pretty thrilled with it, and I kind of knew when I got the job that it was the last job I ever wanted to have, and that was going on 39 years ago.
Yeah, that's incredible. And then, so when you signed up, then did you ever think that you'd be with the team for nearly 40 years now?
No, I don't think so. I think everybody, certainly at that point in history, kind of thought 65 was your normal retirement time. So maybe I might have thought, if I'm lucky, I'll do this for 20, 25 years. But I blew by that 25-year mark and just really never looked back. And now I've signed a new 2-year contract to continue with this club. And it's just a hard thing to leave when it becomes such a big part of your life.
Yeah. So what's made you want to stay so long?
Well, I'm very, very lucky that the club and a whole big number of coaches have allowed my wife to travel with me.
Okay.
And that just takes the bite out of travel, because I have no desire at this point in my life, or any point in my life, of leaving her. It's being with her is my great pleasure, and to give up that to go on the road, whether it's a 1-game trip or whether it's a 5-game trip, is just not something that is appealing to me at this point in my life. So they have just been, I think I'm the only broadcaster in the league that has that incredible perk, for which I am very, very grateful, because we consider it a privilege, not a right. We're just very lucky to have that opportunity, and she's the biggest fan the team has ever had. So it's very cool, and it makes the travel, the road games are almost easier than the home games.
Wow. Oh, that's really special. Okay, so you mentioned earlier that it's it's one of your great pleasures and that kind of stuff with being with the team. Do you feel like what you do is work necessarily?
Well, I work hard, but it's not a job in the sense. I know so many people. I'd say most people I know will at some point or other just dread going to work on a particular day or particular week. or they're looking forward to their 2-week or the 3-week vacation, whatever it is. They're looking forward to a Saturday, Sunday if they're Monday through Friday type worker.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have any of those kind of anxieties at all because I look forward to each and every game. We're down to 4 preseason games now. I look forward to them as much as I do when we played, in the playoffs. I'm excited about doing a radio game in the preseason as I am, a television game in the playoffs. It is a job and it is hard work, but it is a pleasure. I've never dreaded, going to work, and that's a very cool thing to say.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what makes your job so special in your eyes?
Well, as a kid, I was a big sports fan and largely a basketball fan. I loved the game. I played it every day. We had a hoop, our garage in the backyard growing up in Peoria, Illinois, and it was just a game that captured me, and I loved it so much. But I was never going to be good enough to play it at a professional level. And to think after all these years, I'm still going to a gym and being a part of a basketball team is just I have to pinch myself every now and then. I'm able to carry a childhood, passion, into adulthood and old age. Not too many people have that kind of a opportunity, so I'm just very, very thankful that it's been this way. It allows us. I'm 79 years old. I'm surrounded by young people in their early 20s to early 30s. Some people are amazed that I'm active on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram because most people my age are not. But my wife and I are both able to kind of, as at least a little bit, stay up with the times because we're surrounded by young people, and so our life and our outlook at this age is more contemporary than most people in their 70s, certainly.
Okay. So it seems to me like your job all along your life now has been just this really great experience for you to live out, like you said, your childhood dream. Have you ever experienced any hardships along the way?
I guess so, but they've been just so minor that it would be really nitpicking to complain about them when you
Mm-hmm.
consider the problems a lot of people have in their workplace. I really don't. I'm not living a Pollyanna type life, but it has been just a joy. It wasn't easy to go through a 15-win season or something, but I always just accepted that as a part of the challenge of the job because I never got paid to win or lose.
Right.
But there were some periods of time where the team was in year after year after year really struggling to win, and you're surrounded by people who become close to you, like a coach or a coaching staff or players that you develop a relationship with, and you realize their lives aren't going very well at all. And you hurt for them because you empathize with how effective they are by winning and losing, even though, I am not. My dad used to call after we'd lost 5 or 6 or 10 games in a row and be worried about my job. And I'd say, Dad, relax. I'm not being judged in the wins and losses here.
Yeah.
I'm being judged on how I represent our ball club and try to build a fan base for this team, which obviously is more challenging if your team is losing. But I said that's not the yardstick by which I am measured, fortunately. And he breathed a big sigh of relief. But players and coaches don't have that benefit. I mean, they are absolutely judged by wins and losses. And so around the league, it was tough seeing people that you really cared about be hurt by it.
Yeah, I can imagine so. That would be difficult. And the team has experienced a lot of very difficult years, like you mentioned. So then, how has it been, from your perspective, like this inside role of the team, to see the culture change over all these years and become a winning team over the last decade primarily?
Well, it's been a lot of fun. It really has been. I mean, it's been an evolution, not a revolution, because a number of things happened. One, the club got very lucky in the lottery one year. We wound up with the first pick in the draft when a player who's truly a franchise player, and Blake Griffin, was available, and so they were able to draft him. I think Vinny Del Negro, who was a coach who followed Mike Dunleavy in, doesn't get much credit. He only was here 2 years, but he helped the culture change by having people in the organization, front office, basketball staff, realize a professional approach to winning. And I think Vinny probably took the club as far as he could in those 2 years. Then they were able to acquire Doc Rivers from the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
And in the interim there, they made the big trade for Chris Paul. So you had Blake Griffin, then you had Chris Paul, you had Vinny Del Negro, kind of a transitionary coach for the club, then the acquisition of Doc Rivers, and then the change in ownership. You know, those are all of the steps on the ladder that led this ball club to being a perennial, contender. 6 straight trips to the playoffs and winning seasons, and I think maybe only San Antonio and Golden State have won 4 games in the last 4 years, and the Clippers have. They've averaged like 54 wins a year under Doc. And this is a great time in the history of the franchise, and there is every reason to believe this is going to continue for the foreseeable future, and even the future beyond which we can see, because they've got good young players. They've got the basketball staff, the front office staff has grown so dramatically that they are prepared to be good, as far as you can look ahead in the future, and that's pretty cool, because it's not an easy thing to do, because there are 30 teams in the league, and all of them want to win.
Right.
And only 16 of them get to go to the playoffs. Only 2 of them get to go to the NBA Finals, and only 1 team, wins the championship each year. So it's high stakes poker. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Well, going back to Chris Paul, it seems as though, like, I think the fans have been communicating this as well, but it seems as though there's like a greater sense of joy and overall like camaraderie and happiness among the team right now, the way they play and the way the fans have reacted since his departure, really, and the new team forming together. Has that felt the same for you and other guys within the organization? Are you noticing a trend there?
Yeah, it's a little bit early in this season for me to definitively say that, but the early indications are leaning that way, I think. We just kind of felt the last couple of years, being a real close inside observer, that the team wasn't having as much fun as they used to have. And this still is a kid's game that these guys are playing for whole big bunches of money.
Right.
But it's supposed to be fun for them. I think my job is fun. I'm not out there, playing a game I played as a kid. They are.
Right.
They're still playing the same game they played starting when they were 7 or 8 or 10 years old. And they're getting paid millions of dollars to do it, but still the game should be fun, whether it's in the practice gym or certainly when the lights go on at Staples Center or any one of the NBA arenas. The really good teams, the players are having a great time. And that seemed to kind of escaped this team the last couple of years, and there was an observation that was occasionally made, but often felt by those of us, close to the club. I'm not going to say that was because of Chris Paul,
yeah.
but Chris was a hard taskmaster, and I think that if they had gotten to the NBA Finals one of those years, or even gotten to the Western Conference Finals one of those years, that fun might have continued, but primarily because of injury, in a couple of cases because of just plain meltdowns against Oklahoma City one year and against Houston another year. It just never happened. They didn't get there, and it became a task. It became a chore instead of like a fun thrill ride, which is what it could have been and what it should have been. But it didn't turn out that way, and I think in the end result, at the end of last year, there were a bunch of guys thinking, man, this just isn't working. Speaking of Chris Paul and J.J. Redick and Jamal Crawford and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, we've been together now for 4 or 5 years, and it hasn't happened. And there was a level of frustration that boiled up, and it led Chris to think, I've had enough of this. I'm at an age now where I need to make things happen quickly, and it doesn't appear to me, based on these last 5-6 years, that it's going to happen here. So he moved on, and I think everybody kind of thought, okay, this is kind of like we can hit the reset button now, and we can have fun again. And they brought in some very competitive players that love to play the game, and so I think right now this is a honeymoon period, and they're enjoying it. And can they keep the honeymoon, going?
Yeah.
We're going to find out.
So going off of that, then, what are your expectations for this team? Not only this year, but maybe even next year as well. Like, how good can they be?
Again, it's too early for me to really know.
Okay.
They started 2-0, but against two the weaker teams in the Western Conference.
Right.
Until they, once you get through Utah and the Golden State road trip in Portland, you get through some of those games, you'll have a much better feel.
Okay.
But they've lost a key player in Teodosic.
Right.
So that's a little step back, and somebody else is going to have to step up. And I don't think any of us know how much they're going to miss Milos, but they're going to miss him for sure, because he was a starter and a key part of this club. So I don't think I think it's too early. I think fans like to get in that guessing game. They're going to win 45 games or 50 games or 55 games. They're going to they're going to advance beyond the first round or beyond the second round. I just think it's too early to tell. I've seen too many basketball games over the years and too many teams to overreact to a 2-0 start.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that for sure. So I want to go away from the team a little bit and more and focus on you and your years with the team. So one of your most notable traits is the way you always work in like your catchphrases or your Lawlerisms, so to speak. So, like, for example, the bingo or the yo me, oh my. When did you begin incorporating those into your commentary, and how did they even come up?
Well, number one, I never ever thought I want to get a catchphrase. And I've had young broadcasters, ask me how do you develop those. I don't think it's important at all to have them. It just so happens that it happened with me with bingo week in San Diego in the first year that the three-point shot was allowed in the NBA. We had a player named Bobby Bingo Smith, who we acquired from the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Bobby was one of the very few small handful of players in the league that first year who was capable of consistently making the three-point shot. So whenever Bobby would make a three-pointer, I'd go bingo. And love it when you say, oh, me, oh, my. You do? That's weird. Because it's just something that popped out of my mouth one time. And then my wife and I went to buy a car one day, and the car salesman says, I'll make you a special deal if you get oh, me, oh, my license plates. And I go, okay. So you just realize, okay, this kind of works. And so, stuff just happens. And you use it or you lose it, and I decided to use it.
Okay, very cool. So then branching off of that, let's talk about Lawler's Law. It's incredibly accurate. I've looked up the stats. Going back to like 93, it's something like 94% accurate. How did you figure that out?
I'm not smart enough to figure hardly anything out. I stole that. I was in Philadelphia doing 76er games in the mid-70s, and we had a trainer named Al Domenico, and Al's been in the league forever. And back in the 70s, if you go back and check, virtually every team scored 100 points every night. Mm-hmm. It was a more wide-open game than it is today, although it's kind of morphing back towards that now.
Yeah.
But and Al used to always say, first to 100 wins, wait and see. Just watch. And so we used to kind of watch that in Philadelphia. Then when I got the job with the Clippers in San Diego, I said, that 100 wins thing kind of works, and I like the alliteration of Lawler's Law, so I used that. There's one that I purposely, the only thing that I think I say on radio or television that I purposely did, I said, Lawler's Law, at first 100 wins, it's the law. And that just, it caught fire. I don't think there's a team in the league that doesn't have that in the back of their mind now, because I hear it from opposing coaches, players,
yep,
and general managers, all the time. I knew we were in trouble when Indiana scored 100 on us, or whatever, So yeah. That's been fun, but there's no scientific measure to it. It's a lot of games where one team scores 100, the other team scores 80. So obviously the first team to 100 wins in those games. Mm-hmm. But even in the games that are tightly contested, at 99-99, more often than not, the team that gets the next point winds up winning the game. It's been fun, and our public relations staff has carried that all the way back to 1978, first year of the ball club, and it is 93-94% predictive.
Yeah, that's unreal. And it's crazy to me to think that, like you mentioned, with the way that the NBA has changed and scoring averages over the years and that kind of stuff, because, like you said, they were scoring a lot more per game back in that time. So it's crazy that even over all this time, it's still stayed so accurate to me.
Yeah, but it's been fun, and that's I say that the players need to have fun. I think the broadcasters need to have fun too, and that's an area where we as broadcasters can bring some joy to the broadcast. The funny thing is that when the law gets defeated, especially when the Clippers score 100 first and lose the game, I get people almost angry at me. like I did something wrong. Wait a minute. This is just fun stuff. This isn't like, you're going to get through heart surgery, okay? It's like you're going to win the game. And it's fun.
Yeah. So go back to you. One thing that fans have noticed over the years is that you always use a microphone rather than a headset. Is there a reason why you stay traditional?
Yeah, I guess I'm the only one in the league that does that. I can't figure out why everybody doesn't do it.
Yeah.
If you go to a concert, a musical concert, the singers will hold a hand mic, and when they're hitting a big note, they can use that microphone. They'll back it off their mouth so that they don't blast everybody out. Mm-hmm. I just feel I have much more control over the microphone by holding it that way. Uh, the technology has gotten so good with the headset mics that it's not. I think it used to. You get better sound quality. That's not true anymore. The audio quality is equally good either way, but I just think that I have more control over it if I hold it. And I've been doing it so long. If I wear a headset, I don't know what to do with my hands. It's just, it's habit now. But I really, people say, why are you the only one? And I say, I think everybody should be doing it. I don't know why, but everybody just gets handed one of those headset mics, and they just put it on and go. But it's worked for me, and so I'll keep on using it as long as I'm doing this.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That's a great reason. So many fans said they're still adjusting to the sound of Bruce Bowen's voice alongside yours. So what's it been like working with him after working with Mike Smith for so long?
Oh, it's been great. I think Bruce is going to be very, very successful in this new role. There's an adjustment period for sure. Mm-hmm. And I've got a new producer this year and a new partner, and it's very, very different. But it's kind of invigorating after all these years. My players kind of get in a rut talking about the Clipper team over the last few years. Mm-hmm. I think this might happen as well, for broadcasters. So I have to be doubly focused and doubly diligent in my preparation and in my paying attention to what he says, so I can react to it. And he's relatively new doing this. He's been a proven professional on the air with ESPN, but that was a studio setting. Mm-hmm. This is a very different setting, being on the sidelines, calling an actual game. But he is very, very bright. He's extremely articulate. I think he sees the game almost the way a coach does, which is a good thing. I think it's going to be a very successful, on-air marriage, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I think reception's been very well. I know me personally, I think it's a great partnership. It's a great sound. I think Bruce definitely has the voice for it as well.
Yeah.
And he is using a headset, correct? Not a mic?
Yes, he is.
Do you think you can convert him?
No, I've no desire to do that. He's comfortable doing that, and that's fine.
Okay. So with the addition of NBA League Pass and Prime Ticket, I'd say more and more fans are recognizing your voice. Do you find yourself getting more attention at road games than you used to?
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's part because the team has been more successful and more eyeballs, watching the team around the country. And I mean, even on Prime Ticket, the games are carried in Hawaii, the games are carried in Las Vegas, the games are carried in San Diego. So it really is a regional, sports network. But I can tell by going around the country from city to city that people will yell out bingo, or they'll go Lawler or something or other. I had a good old man in Philadelphia last year present me with a bobblehead doll that he had made. It just amazes me that someone would care enough to take the time to do something like that. It was really a good job. Wasn't quite as handsome as I am, but it was almost. But it was really fun when people react like that. So yeah, the league pass is great. Just about every home game is really a nationally televised game now.
Yeah. All right. So my next question for you is, what would you be doing right now if you weren't a broadcaster?
I'd probably probably be in real estate because in the early years in San Diego, I dabbled in real estate in the off season. And there was a year in San Diego where I didn't do the games, and I wound up managing a Coldwell Banker real estate office, and I think I would have probably, followed that arc if I hadn't come back to basketball. So I guess I'd be in real estate somehow or other, either as an agent, I was a broker, or I'd be an investor or what have you. But real estate would have something to do with it.
Okay. So, in terms of success and impact on a team, what do you think it is that sets you apart from other teams' announcers?
I can't answer that. I don't have any idea. I don't think about that kind of thing. I just I don't know. I mean, the aside from longevity, I'm blessed to have been here for a long time. I think that George Blaha and Troy and Al McCoy and Phoenix are both senior to me in terms of years of service. But aside from that, I can't imagine what it would be.
Okay. So me personally, I think a big reason why your voice and your ability sticks with people is because you can really hear that passion and excitement when you speak during a game. I mean, there's so much enthusiasm behind the lob, the jam. So what do you think has helped you to remain, joyful and passionate with your job over the years?
Lucky, good health, a supportive wife who loves the game as much as I do, allows us to share this period of time from September through May, or hopefully one of these years through June.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a joyful ride. As long as it's fun, as long as good health blesses us, I mean, that's the big thing. You got to stay healthy. You see what happened with Bob Miller with the Kings here. His heart just got to the point where he just couldn't handle it anymore, which is really sad because the city's lost a great voice with Bob not being here. Ben Scully he's going on 90 this year. He was 10 years older than I when he decided to hang it up last year. So as long as I'm healthy, I mean, this is just a great way to pass the time. I'm telling you, we're very, very fortunate.
Okay. That's incredible. So then, going off of that, has retirement ever crossed your mind?
Oh, yeah. I think since I got to my mid-60s, where you just are kind of working toward that age 65, which was kind of like a very arbitrary number to think, only about 65, you start thinking about retirement. And my wife and I bought a home out in the desert in La Quinta, thinking that's going to be our retirement home.
Mm-hmm.
We'd lived in Orange County before then, and pretty soon we'd been making that drive from La Quinta to Staples Center for 5 years, and this is ridiculous. We got caught in traffic one time. There's been a massive accident on Interstate 10 coming in, and we went 6 miles in 6 hours, believe it or not.
Wow.
Miles in 6 hours on the freeway.
Wow.
And missed the game altogether.
Wow.
And I said, okay, that's enough. So we sold the home in the desert, and we've been renting the same apartment in Marina Del Rey ever since. And so we're here during the season, and we're at a home we have up in Bend, Oregon the rest of the year.
Okay.
But so I've been mostly taking it year by year with regards to retirement ever since we moved in here to this apartment, and we signed a 6-month lease, and we're coming up on 5 years in January. So, so who knows? Again, if we're healthy, I'll certainly work out this 2-year contract that I'm on right now, and after that, who knows? But that will be 40 years with the
That would be a fantastic milestone for sure. Um, so then, because you've been with this team for so long and you've been watching NBA basketball and talking about NBA basketball for so long, I mean, surely you've seen a lot of really incredible sights. I mean, you've seen Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and all these incredible, players that are considered the greatest of all time. But I want to focus more on the Clippers individually. What if you have one or a few? What are some of your favorite moments watching the team over the years?
Well, I'm really lucky. I broadcast Julius Erving's first game in the NBA after he made his mark in the Old American Basketball Association. He joined the team in Philadelphia when I was doing their home games on television, and being there to see Julius, burst onto the NBA scene. He was kind of just a rumor around the country and the American Basketball Association, and nobody paid any attention to. That was a real thrill, and wound up with a team that went to the NBA Finals with up 2 games to none against the Portland Trailblazers, and wound up losing it 4-2. But I thought I had done Philadelphia Flyer games, and they won the Stanley Cup. And I'm doing 76er games. They go to the NBA Finals, and I thought, man, this is great. And of course, I joined the Clippers in San Diego, and went just about forever before the team, finally broke through and got to the playoffs and got to the point where they are now, where they are a perennial powerhouse in the league. But so that was great fun in Philly with Dr. J, because he was just such an extraordinary talent, and was made for television, because he was a great instant replay waiting to happen almost any time he touched the ball. So kind of introduced him to the fans in Philadelphia. But it was the first year in San Diego was a magical year. I'd worked with Gene Shue, who was a coach that took that Philadelphia team to the finals. He became the first coach of the Clippers in San Diego, and that first year, nothing was expected of the team, and they wound up winning, 43, 44 games, just missing the playoffs in the final couple of games of the season. But that was exciting. The next year, they went out and they acquired Bill Walton in what was then the biggest free agent signing in the history of the league. And we thought, okay, this is going to put pro basketball on the map in San Diego, and it's going to be a great team and a championship team. And of course, none of that ever happened, because Bill was hurt just about every year that he was there. But it allowed me to develop a great friendship with Bill, which is true to this day. One of the great friends I've ever had, and one of the great men I've ever known. So it's largely things that touch you personally that you really remember. The early years, the early 90s of the Clipper team that had Darius
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the Chris Paul game winner over the Spurs. That's actually what I wrote down as my favorite moment watching as a fan. I think it was just incredible, and it almost felt like this curse, so to say, was lifted from the team. It was amazing.
Yeah,
And then,
sure was.
and the Houston next series was, disappointing, but, they've always bounced back. So then, just got one last question for you. Said, I don't think there's anybody that means as much to the Clippers organization or to the fan base as you do. So I've got to know, what do the LA Clippers mean to you?
Oh, that's a good, interesting question. Essentially, half of my life, not my adult life, not my working life, but essentially half of my life I've spent being a part of this organization. So it has been a huge part of who I am. I cannot imagine not having it as a part of my DNA, so to speak. I've made great lifelong friends over the years, both in San Diego and certainly in all these years in Los Angeles. It is just a part of who I am. I can't separate myself from that. Family is the most important thing on earth to me. My wife and I have 3 kids and 7 grandkids and a great grandkid on the way. Nothing is as important as that. But that's 1A. Being a Clipper is 1B. Mm-hmm. It's just a vital part of who I am. And I would be foolish by thinking that I had an identity that transcended beyond that, because I am a Clipper.
Yeah, that's really incredible. All right. Well, I think that's gonna about do it. Ralph, I want to thank you so much for your time. They really, really appreciate it, and good luck tonight with the Jazz.
I get that. Thank you very much. Good luck to you.
Thank you.